Well, good afternoon. Welcome to For the Love of Wine and Chocolate, and we all do love our wine and chocolate. This is for the Santa Barbara School of Squash. We're so happy that you're here with us today. We are going to have, first of all, a wonderful afternoon together. Secondly, we're going to have some spectacular wine and chocolate pairings, and we are going to be guided through that professionally. And third, and most importantly really, is we're going to be raising some money for the Santa Barbara School of Squash. I'm Jeff Green. I have the honor of being your host. By day, I serve as the CEO of the Santa Barbara City College Foundation, but here I am just your MC. And I get to share with you some wonderful things about the School of Squash. Three things before we get started that you all need to know. First, that auction that many of you have been checking out, and I've seen your bids. Most of you have outbid me already. This is going to close at 7 p.m. tonight. So the silent auction closes at 7 p.m. So we'll have a couple of hours after we're off the air with our live event, and we hope that you will bid those all up to their maximum and beyond. Thank you in advance for that. Secondly, we are going to have our chocolate and wine pairings in two parts. So you'll have two sessions today with our experts, who I will introduce to you shortly. And third, we're just really happy that you chose to spend your Sunday afternoon here with us. So Santa Barbara School of Squash, many of you are veterans of the program. You've known it since inception. Some of you might be newer to it. You might even be new to squash. It is a program that goes back 15 years. About 30 students at a time are supported through a combined sports and academic support program, and that has led to some amazing results for these young people. Many of them the first in their families to graduate high school, all of them the first in their family to attend college, and they do attend college. They get they apply to and get accepted to colleges across the country, whether it be our UCs, our CSUs, my very own SBCC, or Bates College, or George Mason, or any one of our public schools around the country. So it's a tremendously successful program. And really, these students have leveraged actually over $4 million in financial aid. And much of that is because of the success really bolstered and fostered by Santa Barbara School of Squash. So how does this all happen? It happens with a small and dedicated team. And at the head of that team is one gentleman who I'm about to introduce you to, the head honcho, the guy that keeps it all together. He is a former squash player professionally himself. He's a current squash player all the time. And he is the executive director, Mr. Robert Graham.
Thank you, Jeff. I just have a few thank yous to say. Firstly, to the organizing committee. They put a lot of time and effort into this, and I really want to thank them for that. We couldn't have done it without them. We also couldn't have done this without the sponsors that came in, and to name those, that is Danielle and Frank Huerta, John and Sue Burke, True Organics, and then we also have Foley Estates Wine and Jessica Foster Confections. We could not have had this event without them. There's some incredible wine and chocolates that I know you're all going to enjoy later on. And then a big thank you also to Jeff, who you just heard speaking, for donating his time, and also Jason Libbs, our musician that you're going to hear some from later. I've never been more proud of SBSOS than I've been in this last year. It's been a difficult year for everybody, but really extremely difficult for most of our families, if not all of them. And the reason I'm so proud is that SBSOS was able to pivot to provide support for our families in whatever area they needed it most. So we completely changed our usual programming and just became a critical part of our families. So as I said, that made me incredibly proud and thankful. We couldn't do all of this without the support of donors like all of you guys who are here today. I've been told I'm only allowed to have 1 minute speaking right now, so that's enough from me. I'm going to move on to the first part of the program this afternoon, which is a video. We actually produced it in 2016, but it's still very pertinent today, and it really describes our programming. So the first video you're going to see is from 2016, and it talks a little bit about the SBSOS program. Have a great time, everybody. Thank you. Our goal is to really create opportunities for the kids to experience things that they wouldn't otherwise experience.
It helped me a lot with school. It pushed me to levels that I didn't think I was capable of achieving.
When I joined squash, I didn't have any friends, so I made a lot of friends. I've learned confidence here.
Squash has opened me up to a whole new world.
They really invest into your life, because a lot of kids that come here, maybe not, they don't really have that at home maybe.
Someone watching should be able to tell
whether you've come over here and played a drop shot. My name is Robert Graham and I'm Executive Director of the Santa Barbara School of Squash. We are an after-school non-profit program for low-income local students. We have about 30 kids who come to us after school about 4 times a week, and they get to play squash for about an hour, and then they get academic help, usually homework based, for about an hour.
There is a duality in Santa Barbara. There are a number of wealthy people, but there's a high level of poverty in this community. Quite a number of the kids are qualify for the federal lunch program, and we take those kids into this program.
We've had some incredible success stories in the program where kids that otherwise would never have gone to university, for example, have been successful going through our program and going to places like Berkeley and Bates College on the East Coast.
I actually had never heard of squash before I started volunteering for the School of Squash.
Every single time you play a casual shot over there, the whole team does 20 push-ups. A lot of Ivy League schools and other colleges actually provide scholarships to students who are good squash players. We've been around for 10 years and we've got a 100% success rate. All of our kids who have graduated our program have gone on to college, and they're actually all the first in their family to even graduate high school, let alone go on to college.
At the end of the program, I got offered 3 scholarships from colleges all over the country.
Since I was playing squash, I got a scholarship into a private school.
I just graduated high school, so I'm going into, my first year of college at Westmont next year. There was no way my parents would have been able to afford it.
I'm definitely getting a scholarship to go to college.
So there you have it, a little bit about Santa Barbara School of Squash, and you're going to hear more and see more later, so settle in right now. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the wine and chocolate moment, at least the first one. And I'm very happy. First of all, don't do this at home alone. You need professional guidance. And fortunately today, we've got 2 professionals with us. I want to introduce you to Jessica Foster of Jessica Foster Confections and Billy Ralla of Foley Food and Wine Society, who are going to take you through some of the finer points of eating your chocolate and sipping your wine.
Hi there. Welcome to the chocolate and wine pairing portion of today's festivities. I'm Jessica with Jessica Foster Confections, as Jeff mentioned, and I'm so happy to be here to support Santa Barbara School of Squash and all the work that they do in our community. And I'm thrilled to be here with Billy from Foley Wines and Lincourt Wines. And I'll say a little bit about me to start. Jessica Foster Confections is my company. I've been in business about 18 years here in Santa Barbara. I'm primarily known for my chocolate truffles, which is what you all are going to be tasting today. Yeah, this is hopefully what you have in your boxes. And try to resist the urge to consume anything that you have without our guidance, because we're hoping to really sort of help you with a guided experience, sensory experience. In addition to the chocolate truffles, I do have some other products that I make, sea salt caramels and almonds and some other goodies. But we'll focus today on the truffles because that's what sort of makes the winery segment of my business relevant. I think that part of the reason that my truffles in particular, are really conducive to wine pairing is that they're a little bit more savory, less sweet. I use a lot of herbs and spices, which you'll get to check out today. And then the texture is really soft and they really sort of blend on your palate with the wine. So hopefully you will enjoy that. And for the moment, I'll pass it on to Billy to introduce herself.
Yeah, it's great to be here on this beautiful day, sharing some amazing truffles and hopefully some delicious wines for you all. So I'm here representing the Foley Food and Wine Society, and we're representing 2 of our spectacular Santa Barbara wineries today. So we have Foley Estates and we have Lincourt Vineyards. And both of these wineries are located up in the Santa Barbara wine country. And the fruit from both of these wines today come from the same region, Santa Rita Hills. So we'll go into sort of that region, what makes it so unique and special for Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. But go ahead, pour yourself a glass if you haven't done so already. As Jessica mentioned, this really is an interactive activity. So we want you guys to go ahead, comment down below, share what you're tasting, share what you're smelling as we sort of go along with that together. We want to hear what you have to say because everyone tastes differently. Everyone perceives different things when they smell. And that's what makes this so much fun. We all have different things that we'll like some of the same pairings. Some of us might not like a certain pairing. And it's all because our palates are made differently. So this really is just a fun, interactive activity for all of us to do. Let's go ahead and start with the Chardonnay today. So this Chardonnay is from Foley Estates, Santa Rita Hills. The vineyard is called Rancho Santa Rosa, and this was a vineyard that was originally a thoroughbred horse ranch. It was planted over to vine in 1998 by Bill Foley. He was one of the first winemakers to go into this region. He realized that it's just so unique within Santa Barbara because of the climate and the terroir. It's about 10 degrees cooler than most of the other wine regions in Santa Barbara, and that just makes it wonderful for growing these Burgundian wines, Chardonnay and Pinot. We benefit from a late fog that rolls off. The wind just comes rushing through this vineyard. If you are fortunate enough to go visit, and I highly recommend all of you guys do, you'll notice when you come down the driveway that the trees are all kind of bent to one side, and that's because the winds just rush through our valley. With such force that it really pulls out a lot of the heat. But we are in California, so we get lots of beautiful sunshine all the time, like today, and that really allows us to get a lot out of our fruit. So what I invite you to do is first, let's understand what's in our glass. Go ahead and give it a swirl. And the reason we're doing that is we're just releasing more of those aromas. They're called volatile aromas because they literally fly out the glass. And if you do have a glass that sort of tapers in, that will sort of help capture all of those delicious smells inside of that bowl. So you can stick your head in there and sort of, sort of see what you're smelling. And there are no wrong answers. So please share what you are getting down in the comments below. I would love to hear what you're getting, but what are you getting off of this, Jessica?
I'm definitely getting citrus and definitely oak. And a bit of vanilla.
Yeah, and that oak, I almost get like a toasted hazelnut from the oak.
Definitely.
Vanilla, and then definitely some citrus, almost like a Meyer lemon.
Yeah. Like peel.
So now that we've smelled it, and we can go ahead and taste it, keeping in mind that 95% of what we taste is smell. Don't just taste it for the flavors. I want you to sort of roll it around on your tongue. You might want to take a couple of sips. The first sip will kind of shock your palate if you haven't been drinking wine since 11 in the morning. So go ahead, take a first sip, take a second sip, roll it around, and just sort of see if you're getting the same flavors that you're smelling, sort of feel the weight of this wine.
So good. And definitely, I think it's a good thing with all the pairings that we're going to do to get a grasp on the wine in advance of tasting the chocolate so that you know them separately.
Absolutely.
And then you can introduce the truffle and sort of mix them together on your palate. Then you can really experience how it changes the wine.
Absolutely. So this one, I'm getting a lot of the same flavors, still that bright Meyer lemon. If you can feel sort of a salivation on the side of your tongue, and it just keeps going and going, and then still going, that's the acid. And I feel like this wine has pretty good acid.
Definitely.
Yeah, which kind of lends itself for pairing with the creaminess inside of these truffles and these chocolates. The body, if I had to compare this to other white wines, I would say is a nice sort of medium weight body, medium plus. We've got some heft to it. So when I'm doing pairings, I like to sort of match the weight of my wine with the weight or richness of the food I'm pairing it with. So we're pairing this with a couple of truffles today, but do you want to introduce the first one?
I would
sort
love
of see
to.
how that plays?
Yeah, so hopefully you all have a map inside of your boxes, but this is what if you want to do the visual, this is what you're going to be tasting. So this is first pairing, second pairing. So we're doing the white chocolate green tea first. It's a white chocolate ganache, and I use matcha, powdered Japanese green tea. So it sort of has a green tea ice cream kind of a vibe, and then there's vanilla scented sugar on the outside. And I guess we should just taste and then we can talk about the pairing.
Before you start digging in, what I think is really fun, a way to really perceive how this wine changes with the pairing, is go ahead and take one more sip of that wine, get that idea in your head and on your palate, and then take a bite of that. Oh, I'm getting some good taste comments below. Caramel, cinnamon, that's from the oak. Yeah, vanilla for sure. So let's see how those sort of play with this Grenache.
Definitely.
Ganache. Grapes are on my mind.
Wine, chocolate,
I know. So now that we have that wine on our mind, go ahead and take a bite of the chocolate, then go back to the wine. See if anything changes. Does the acid level change for you? Are you watering as much or less? Does the weight of the wine change? Do the flavors change?
And you'll notice that we have our chocolates cut up. That's an option, or you can take bites of them, but it's nice to be able to revisit as opposed to eating the entire chocolate, because it changes. Like she said, the first sip is different than the third sip, and I think that when you get to do wine, chocolate, it sort of evolves on your palate, so that's a nice option. I love this pairing.
Me too. I feel like that vanilla sugar on top is really playing with the vanilla that we were getting in the oak on this wine. This wine has oak. It's not super oaky. Only 30% of the barrels that were used in the making of this wine were new. So you're only going to get flavor from a new barrel. So we're only adding in a small amount. But I feel like this vanilla really plays up sort of that yummy sweet vanilla that you get in the oak. And what about the acid?
I actually think that the green tea is like kind of alkaline, so I think that it actually tempers the acidity, so it sort of rounds out the citrus notes and just sort of makes it a little rounded, more rounded on your palate, I think, like the texture.
Yeah, so if that wine was just a little bit too tart for you at first, I think this is a really great pairing to sort of mellow that out, bring out more of those vanilla warm notes in it.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and go through the second.
So the second truffle is a milk chocolate honey almond truffle. I use a local wildflower honey from San Marcos Farm that is really quintessential honey flavor. It's kind of a powerful honey flavor, and because of the body of the Chardonnay, it actually can hold up to the strong honey. And then there's toasted almonds on the outside, and it's a really creamy texture.
So again, sip first, then take the bite, and see how that wine changes. Are you tasting different things from the pairing in the first one? Go ahead and share your comments. Did you like the first pairing, or was it a little shocking to you? Oh, I saw someone said, amazing. Love it.
Yeah, it's just completely different. I feel like this brings out, it actually doesn't temper the acid as much, and it brings out more of the nuttiness and the caramel, or sort of echoes those things. And you still get a lot of the acid in the finish.
You definitely get that bright acid. So me, I love acid in wine. I want it to just peel the enamel off of my teeth. I want it bright. I want it refreshing. So for me, I really enjoy this pairing, and I do like how it's playing up more of those nutty notes that you get from the oak.
Definitely.
You get that little Meyer lemon added in. It kind of just gives it like this nice warm brown feel to the wine.
So good.
Yeah, and I love that sugar on the outside of the green tea truffle, how that crunch just really plays with the softness of the ganache.
Yeah, it's such a subtle addition, but it does make a big difference in certain situations. Definitely. Yeah, so I think both those illustrate how different pairings can be, and the second pairing's actually even going to do that more.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun things to come with this next segment.
Definitely, yeah. And we selected two flavors to show that, everything it's subjective, it's taste. Not everybody likes the same thing, so hopefully we'll show you that there are different options and more options even beyond what we have here. I have 30 different flavors of truffles. There probably are 10 different options with each of these wines that would just do different things. It's not necessarily good, bad, it's just preference. Yeah. So I hope you're enjoying this beginning part of our tasting experience, and definitely don't go anywhere. Try to resist, again, drinking your Pinot and eating your second round of truffles. And we'll be here in a little bit when you come back, and I'll pass it on to Jeff Green.
Thank you so much, Jessica and Billy. See, I told you they're professionals, so you don't have to be a professional to enjoy the chocolate or the wine, but they can take you a level or two deeper. So thank you so much. We'll be back with them in just a bit. We also have another video we'd like to show you that tells you a little bit more about what the School of Squash actually does. So please enjoy this, and I'll be right back to tell you what we're going to do next.
In one word, describe SBSOS.
Amazing. A community.
Opportunity.
Fun.
Rigorous.
Life-changing.
Hope.
Family.
Strength.
My favorite part of Santa Barbara School of Squash is the community that we have and how we're able to all laugh together and make great memories. And it really is and has become a second family for me, and it's something that I can always rely on to be there for me.
Oh, it's helped me in everything, my whole life, everything. Let's see, since I was little, I was very timid. I didn't like people, I didn't like to hang around with people, but when I joined SBSOS, I pretty much been outgoing. I've pretty much been doing a lot of things out of my comfort zone, and it pretty much just turned me into the person I am today. So it's not only just me, but it's also affected my friends, the people around me, my family.
The academic tutoring and both the coaching are so personal and private that it makes each team member feel like they're special.
My biggest takeaway from SBSOS is probably that it is okay to be different. It is okay to not look like every other person or be like every other person, because every single person brings something completely different and unique to the table.
But SBSOS to me means that I get to be myself and just kind of like interact with others and just have fun and make memories. SBSOS has helped me with my education and getting into good schools, as well as improving my manners.
Squash is a very big networking opportunity for students. I've experienced moments where I'm, trying to network, and squash somehow always comes up. Like, people love playing squash, people love squash. Being able to have that in common with someone has been a really unique experience for me that has been really beneficial.
I enjoyed academic tutoring because I was struggling a lot in a lot of classes, and I knew SBSOS would be there for me and be like, oh yeah, we have a tutor for you, which was amazing because I felt like I was going downhill with like a lot of classes like chemistry or English, and it was just nice like also seeing other students like with tutors and like trying hard as well to get their grades up, because I knew like they cared and I cared as well like about my grades, which was nice.
Biggest takeaway for me from SBSOS is how important it is to give back to your community. I really learned from the tutors and from all the volunteers that without all the time and effort that those people had put into the program, the program wouldn't have been as successful. It wouldn't have shaped all the kids' lives as well as it did.
The biggest takeaways that I will carry for the rest of my life are the memories and the relationships and the things that SBSOS provided me during such a foundational time of my life. And I know that I can always count on Robert and Koji and anyone in the program. And I think having support in my life, especially as someone that was a first generation college student and someone that's starting a career, I think those are so important and something that I will cherish for years and years to come.
I would just like to say thank you to the donors and board members of SBSOS for allowing this program to be what it is today.
Yo amo SBSOS.
I love 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 SBSOS.
All right, folks, the mask is coming off for this one. That's just a bit more about the School of Squash and what they do. And of course, now is the time where we're going to ask you what you can do to keep that work moving. As you know, this is one of the most efficient, well-run programs in the region. with relatively little dollars, few dollars, they do an incredible amount for an incredible number of young people. So 15 years in, what we're here to do is ask you to do whatever you can, and that is whatever you can. And believe me, everything is appreciated to help them out. Now, this is a virtual fundraiser, so let me tell you a little bit about the screen that you're looking at. If you haven't figured this out already, and I do see a few pledges already, so thank you for that. At any point, you can click that button and you can make your pledge. If you look at the menu in front of you, there are a whole series of things that are needed by the School of Squash at any given time. And you just hit that and it will show up, and then we'll talk about how you check out on the Paybe system at the end. But we're going to ask you for some very specific things, but remember, at any point throughout this, you can give any amount you want. And frankly, if you change your mind tonight and you want to call up Robert tomorrow, I'm sure he'll accept your donation as well. So take a look at that screen. You can see what's there. Are you ready? We're going to get warmed up. All right, I don't have my squash equipment or anything, so I'm just going to stand right here. But we're going to start at the top, and what I'm going to ask you to do is go ahead and hit that button. If I see your name come up on the screen that I'm looking at right here, I'm going to thank you out loud for everyone to know, and you can see what people have done. I've seen that Coach jumped in early, and Anne-Marie's already jumped in, and Susanna and John have jumped in, and Mark's jumped in. This is beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to start right at the top, support all expenses for one student for 6 months. So this is the one that says it's live on your screen. It's right there at the top. If you can do this, it costs $4,000 for all the expenses that go with supporting one student through the School of Squash program for 6 months. That $4,000 is the top, and I'm going to sit here and tell you a little bit about that. Actually, I'm going to ask Robert. So 6 months, they're getting taken to the courts and home. They're doing their academic work. What else is happening in that?
It's basically, it covers everything for 6 months. They come to us 4 days a week during that 6 months.
4 days a week. There's a nice match. $4,000, 4 days a week. Whatever you can do, that's what we want you to do. And we want you to push that there. So think about that. That's a good one. It's a big one. It's the biggest one on the screen. We're going to jump to the $2,500 level for those of you that want to do that. Now, $2,500 can do any number of things, but in this case, it's actually to keep the van going. So we have a van. Is it just one van? Is that
one van?
One van does all of this. One van, 100,000 mile check. My cars generally don't make it to 100,000 miles, and maybe that's because I don't raise money to get them checked. But nonetheless, that's what we're doing right here. We need $2,500 to get that $100,000 mile check. Just go ahead and click that button right there. Look, I see a few folks. Like I said, say Rudy, thank you so much. Laura, thank you so much. Laura White, wonderful. That's the $2,500 we were looking for. We're grateful for that. Kim, thank you so much for your gift. This is what this is all about. So, by the way, it doesn't take, it can be more than just one person. The Huertas, look at that. Thank you, $4,000. Thank you so very much. Longtime supporters, board members, huge supporters of the school. So we got our $4,000, we got our $2,500, but guess what? That van, if somebody else did $2,500, would probably go another 100,000 miles. So don't think it's taken. It's not off the menu. It's still right there in front of you for $2,500. Next, we'll jump down, though, and we'll talk about what you can do for $1,000. You can see there's something there at 15. Actually, the 15 is kind of cool. It's some special masks, and we've all learned a lot about masks in this last year. But if you're a squash player and you need a mask, and it's complicated. So those masks right there for $1,500 would be wonderful. But we're going to go down to $1,000. This is the summer programming. So this is what it would take to take any one student through the entirety of the summer programming, $1,000. We're looking for a few folks to do this. As I said, there's 30 students. The capacity right now, at least, is 30 students. Someday, when they've got their massive facility, right? Massive? Is that the word we're going to use?
Yeah.
Big facility. We're going to do this for dozens and dozens of students, but right now it's for 30. So any student for their summer programming, that's what we want to see. Oh, thank you, John. John Burke, I know you. Thank you so much, Mr. Burke. So the Burkes have done $1,000 right there. So who else wants to join them for $1,000? This is what it takes to get a student through the summer programs. And again, remember, these students are working really hard to make it not only through school successfully, to apply to college, learn a sport in the meantime. And by the way, and I don't know if Robert mentioned this, but some of the students that have come out of the School of Squash have ended up with national recognition in their sportsmanship, in addition to their fantastic academia. So we're looking for another $1,000. Thank you, George. Another $1,000 right there. Thank you, Mr. Witter. Beautiful. We've got another gift right there. Oh, the gifts just keep coming. Thank you. Alan, Geraldine, thank you. Brights, thank you. Keep them coming. This is what we're trying to do right now. Raise this money for the School of Squash. $1,000 for the summer programs. We're going to go ahead and jump down. You can see there $750 would be some full season squash tournaments and travel costs. Remember, squash is taking off around the country. If you didn't know squash before now, a lot of people are in your shoes, and as they discover it, there's more and more teams, and of course, people travel to play each other And in this moment, we all know just how important it is to do that well, to do that safely. So $750 will get you there. But we're going to go down to the $500 level, and this is another key tool. Now remember, this is a sports program and an academic program. And on the academic side of it, we all know that today good equipment is a big part of it. We've seen the digital divide, and especially during COVID, we've seen what it means to have a digital divide and how some students just don't have the tools to be successful in school. So this is for a reconditioned MacBook. This isn't your old MacBook, right?
No, it's much better than mine.
Okay, we're not playing that game. All right, totally on the up and up. This is a reconditioned MacBook for a student. $500 will do this. Thank you, Gretchen, my colleague at the college. Thank you so much, Gretchen Hewlett. We're looking for $500 for a MacBook, and that's one MacBook per student. There are many needed, so more than one person can do this one. But again, it's the tools so the students can be successful in their academics, and that's what we're looking at. So think about that. Look at that button right there. We're going to jump down. We're going to look at $250 for annual daily transportation. Now again, getting to and from the courts, sometimes to tournament plays, sometimes just to do their studies, whatever it may be, to and from school. This is what it costs. So $250 is for any given student's annual transportation costs. This allows them, and thank you, Marianne. Marianne White's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, George. Again, thank you so much. Generous donors, all, thank you for doing this. You know it is appreciated, and you know it goes to a good place and a good cause. So this is just to get students to and from where they need to be. Thank you, Bill and Jacqueline. Thank you, David. Oh, we've hit the number here. This 250. You like this? Good. We'll stick here for a while. Thank you, Bob. Another one. This is just to move students from place to place, make sure that they have access. And again, many of these students may not have that. They may have family members that are working throughout one or more, many jobs. And of course, getting around as a young person can be difficult, especially on a tight schedule to do something like School of Squash. So keep those dollars coming. $250 will help students get around. We'll jump down one more. If you look down at the equipment for one student, so this is just the basic squash equipment for one student. And if you see that button on your screen, this makes sure that they have what they need to play the game. Most of us are not born with our own squash equipment. It just doesn't happen that way. So when they need it, this is how they get it. Thank you, Philip. $100 will do that for any one of these students. So go ahead and hit that $100 button. You can just keep hitting it if you want. Peter, thank you so much. Jeff, thank you so much. Jacqueline, thank you so much. That's the way. You know, you got this system down. This is Paybe. This is how it works. This is the $100 for all the equipment that you need. You can see that there's other things on the menu. There's groceries for families in need at this challenging time, and there are so many nonprofits that work well together. Santa Barbara School of Squash is one of them. Good partners trying to help out the community in a broader way. Thank you again, Nancy. Thank you very much for your gift. We want you to just keep thinking about it here. This is what we're here to do tonight, is to raise money for Santa Barbara School of Squash. So if you think about it, and something I said 6.5 minutes ago really strikes your fancy, you can hit that $4,000 button, you can hit that $2,500 button, you can hit that $1,000 button. I'm going to take a breath. You can hit the $500 button or the $750 button, which we actually did talk about, even though I told Robert I was going to talk about that one. And you can go $250, and you can go $150, and you can go $100. Whatever it takes. Thank you so much, Karen. $150. Thank you very, very much. Whatever you can do, these dollars go to make sure that School of Squash is successful, that these young people are successful, and that's what this is all about. So please, whatever you would like throughout the rest of this event, you'll have some more time for wine and I said cheese. Chocolate, come on, wine and chocolate. Of course, there is that silent auction, so don't forget that there's quite a bit more there as well. So we have, thank you, Anna. That's wonderful. Keep them coming. I will get some more shout outs to the generous donors, and you all are generous donors. Thank you for being here as we go through. So now I'm going to take a breath, and I'm going to let you get back to your wine and your chocolate, and we're going to take you back to the professional duo of Billy and Jessica.
All right, thank you, Jeff, and welcome back. We are so excited to be part of such an amazing event. It supports so many talented and bright students, so we really appreciate all of you just being here with us today and helping out in all the ways that you have. But let's get back into sort of our fun activity. We're going to jump deep into the world of Pinot. So I'm going to introduce our next wine. Our next wine is the Lincourt Rancho Santa Rosa Pinot Noir. So again, this is from that same vineyard as the Chardonnay. Benefits from those great cool morning breezes, the fog, plenty of sunshine. The Pinot tends to be grown more on the slopes, whereas Chardonnay, we tend to grow this more on the sandy soil. Chardonnay loves sand. This guy, though, some of these slopes are so steep that they have to be handpicked. We can't even get a truck up there. So a lot of love goes into this guy. And it's also made out of several different types of Pinot clones. If you've ever heard of a clone before, they all have different attributes. They're kind of like cousins. They're all Pinot Noir, all cousins, but everyone is unique. And by blending them together, we just get kind of a nice, complex wine. So I invite you all to go ahead, swirl that beautiful glass, stick your nose in there, and explore this with us. See what you smell. Oh, I love Santa Rita Pinot.
Yes.
It's me. So one of the things I love about Pinot Noir is that it just expresses exactly the terroir where it's from.
Definitely. The earthiness.
Yeah. On this, I get so much vineyard. It's like you're walking through the vineyard. The vineyard soil's there. You get a black pepper earthiness to it. And this is unique. You don't get this anywhere else in California. As you go up north, even like just to Santa Maria, you start to get a little bit more fruit and a different type of earthiness. Sonoma, you're all in fruit country, pure fruit. Then you go up to Oregon, of course, you get the funky earth up there.
Definitely.
But this one, it just really tells you exactly where it's from. This is Santa Rita in a glass. But besides earth, I get some cool fruit notes out of it. What were you pulling out?
I definitely get red fruit, like some cherry.
Oh yeah, someone said cherries for sure.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And pomegranate, and then I noticed this last time. I get like soy sauce, which is just super. It's sort of a.
It has this cool
side note,
umami flavor.
Yeah,
so
it's
here
awesome.
we're talking about things. We're mentioning red fruits like cherries, pomegranates, soy sauce, an umami flavor. Earthiness, vineyard soil, black pepper, all of these, when we have all these different categories, it means we're dealing with a fairly complex wine. But in that complexity, I think it makes it easy to pair with foods that share similar characteristics or maybe foods that are completely different but complement those characteristics. So think a nice peppered steak with some sort of raspberry coulis on top. Pepper and steak and raspberry, 3 totally different elements, but they all work really well together. And so that's one of the things I kind of want us to explore in our next pairing coming up, is how some flavors work together well because they're the same, or how they work together well because they're different. And again, go ahead, as we go through this, agree with us, disagree with us, you're correct. We're all correct. That's the great thing about the subjectivity of this, is everyone's right. That's why I'm in this field.
Yes.
You don't ever have to feel bad.
Exactly. There's no right answer. And we forgot to ask, but if anybody has opinions on the first pairings, if you have favorites, we're curious. Not, again, that there's right answers, but we're just curious about your thoughts. But I'll introduce the first truffle that we're going to pair with the Pinot. And we're kind of going in a different order than would be typical. We're doing the dark chocolate first and the milk chocolate second. Just because of what they do in the pairing. Usually we would do the lighter body and then the darker chocolate, but we're doing it different. Hopefully you will agree with our plan. But it's the first one is the dark chocolate pomegranate. It's the one with the little sprinkles on top. It's raw sugar. So it has a pomegranate molasses, dark chocolate ganache, and then it's dipped in dark chocolate and finished with raw sugar.
Yeah, and I want to go ahead and just sort of explore this wine a little bit more before we go into that and make sure we really understand where we're starting before we experiment with how it changes. So we talked about the smell, and I just love this wine so much. I didn't even taste it yet.
I know.
And I know I love a wine when I just want to sit there and smell it. But let's go ahead and taste it. So again, go ahead, take your first taste. We call that the attack. Let your palate get used to it, and then go ahead and take another taste and just let it roll around on your tongue a little bit to really experience the full breadth of the flavors, but also the feel of this wine.
I love the grippiness of it. The tannin, it's really kind of makes you pucker a little bit.
There is some tannin. Now, Pinot Noir is a red wine, so there will be a little tannin, but it has less tannin than, say, a Cabernet or a Zin. So that makes it play well with things like a milk chocolate that would be a little bit smoother. But I also think because it does have a little bit of structure here, it's going to play well with dark chocolate, which also has a little bit of tannin to it.
Definitely.
What about the flavors? What sort of flavors are you pulling off of the palate?
I feel like I'm getting a bit of leather on the palate, in addition to the things that we already discussed.
Yeah,
like,
that
I
red
definitely
fruit,
get the
like
fruit.
the pomegranate, kind of dried strawberry a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't. It's funny when you say it, then I then I see it. I hadn't pulled that one out on my own yet, but so good.
But you can get, again, that acid kind of on the sides of your tongue, not as intensely as that Chardonnay, but it does have a little bit of verve to it, which
Definitely.
I enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah, and sort of, and that's kind of where I'm getting the tart fruit from too,
Yes.
with that acid profile.
Yeah, for sure.
I also get kind of, with that earthiness, a little herbal quality to this too. Almost like a lavender maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, but definitely a little bit of a slight herbal quality. But let's go ahead, let's play around. Now that we kind of have an idea of this, the body, again, I always like to talk about the body. To me, it's a red wine, but as far as reds go, I feel like a little bit on the light side.
Definitely.
And Pinots tend to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and take a sip, just get that fresh in our mind real quick, and then we're going to take a taste of the dark chocolate pomegranate truffle.
Yes. And something you'll notice with all of our pairings today is that there's only one dark chocolate. I think that people think typically chocolate and wine, it's going to be red wine, dark chocolate. It's really not always the case. It doesn't have to be the case. White wine goes with milk and white chocolate. And a lot of red wines go well with milk chocolate over dark chocolate because of the tannins. I think that the sort of more restrained tannins on this make it conducive to the dark chocolate pairing, in fact.
And, you know, I had this chocolate actually this morning too.
Yum.
And tasting it after the wine, it makes the pomegranate in the chocolate pop
Definitely.
even more. So the food doesn't necessarily just affect the wine, it's vice versa too.
Definitely.
We're affecting the foods as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes, the red fruit becomes the dominant component for sure with the pairing.
And when you taste in the wine, you start to get, I think it does underline that red fruit in this Pinot Noir.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely brings up more of that strawberry, more of the pomegranate, kind of softens out that earth a little bit. So if you aren't the biggest fan of earthy Pinots, pair it with something that has a little bit of fruit. Now, the fact that there's the bitterness of the dark chocolate added in balances out the sweetness that could be in the fruit, because these aren't overly sweet truffles, right? And so that's what really helps them play well with wine. If you have a dessert that's too sweet, it can kind of make the wine taste a little bit flat, because that sweetness will overpower the non-sugar in the wine. But because you have all these different elements, that sort of bitter quality in the chocolate, that bright pomegranate, it really does play well with this, I think. But again, this is my opinion. What we teach now isn't necessarily food and wine pairings, but food and wine dynamics. How food works with each other and with our own palates. A great example of this is coffee. We all drink coffee differently. I like just a little bit of cream in mine, no sugar at all. Some people like it completely black, and some people have to have that sugar element in there because they aren't big fans of the bitter flavor.
Right.
And that's because our taste buds are all different. So we can't say that one pairing necessarily works for everyone, because everyone's going to perceive it and enjoy it in a different way.
Right.
But I personally
analogy.
just really love how that plays up that tart red fruit. Again, I mentioned before, I really like tart flavors. I like acid. I used to eat lemons as a child. I was kind of weird. I understand. But I really enjoyed that one. But we have a second pairing.
We do.
That's going to do something completely different. So the first one, what we were doing was we were pairing congruent flavors. Two flavors that are similar to emphasize that. What we're going to play around with next is complementary flavors, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I'll let you go ahead and introduce that.
Okay, cool. So we did, this is going to be the cocoa covered truffle in your box, and it's the milk chocolate, star anise, and thyme. And it's a pretty unique combination of flavors that I don't even know how I came up with, but I think it works really well. So it's basically star anise, whole star anise steeped, the cream is steeped with the star anise and fresh thyme that I grow in my garden. It's French thyme. And then it's dipped in bittersweet chocolate and dusted in cocoa powder. So this is obviously one of the more savory flavors, like I was mentioning, that really, the pairings are easier with red wine, oftentimes with the more savory components. And what Billy was saying about the similar versus the contrast, I think this pairing in particular really exhibits those two different sort of methods of pairing. So the first one was more echoing the red fruit, and then this one hopefully will do something completely different. So let's taste again, and then
sip, taste, sip. Get that fresh that control on your palate. We're doing an experiment. This is our control. You have to drink wine for your experiments here.
The best kind of experiments.
That's what gets me into science. Okay, go ahead and take a bite of that truffle and see what sort of flavors you're pulling out of the truffle, because it's, like you said, a really interesting combination.
Yeah, it's definitely unique combo of things. The herbal components.
That's so savory.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I love that.
It certainly brings out the more of the herbal. It really tames the fruit, you know, the red fruit component.
Yeah. I haven't even gone back to the chocolate
Oh,
yet. I'm still
sorry,
savoring the truffle.
I'm jumping
this
again.
Is so good. I love the anise in it, and
I'm so much more familiar with the chocolate that I'm just like.
You're like, I've had this before.
I'm more excited about the wine, but yes, it is definitely savory.
It does. It brings out those great savory components. I get that umami again. I get hit with that soy.
Yep.
I get the black pepper for sure. And then the herbal quality that I was getting kind of in the form of like a lilac or a lavender, some sort of like very herbally floral note. It's sort of playing off of that a little bit more. And the fruit is there. It doesn't hide
absolutely.
the fruit. But I agree with you. It tames it for me. It definitely tames it a little bit.
It's almost like the
earthy dust.
I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, that is the vineyard. That is.
It's almost like this pairing elevates the really subtle notes from the beginning, like what you taste in it, but you don't. They're not super prominent, and this sort of draws those out to the forefront, as opposed to echoing the really prominent flavors.
Absolutely.
You know, that the pomegranate did.
Which I love. You know, it's easy for me to talk about fruit, but the parts of wine that I find the most interesting are the non-fruit notes. Those kind of hidden notes that you can pull out.
Definitely.
When you have a really good food and wine pairing, because all of a sudden it's like you've created magic.
Yeah.
You're seeing things that weren't there before.
I feel like we created magic.
We did create magic. So we want to hear from you guys. What was your favorite pairing in this?
Definitely. Yes.
What was your favorite pairing?
I actually think it was that one.
The
I think
last
it was
one?
the last one.
I think it was
It
for
was
me
that
too.
and the green tea with the Chardonnay
Yeah.
were my two for sure.
I like the green tea with Chardonnay.
But I feel like this one is just so
It
there's
plays
so much
to
going
the
on.
earthy notes in my heart.
I know, me too. I love the earthy too, and it kind of continues. Like there's still things going on in my mouth after a minute or so after.
I mean, you can
which
hear
is
how
nice.
excited we get about this.
Yeah, we're geeks about food and wine, but.
Let's see. Chardonnay. I see someone said Chardonnay green tea, the best.
Yay.
I love it.
I love it. I'm so glad you can read better than I can. But yeah, hopefully this really, you can do this at home, and it's so much fun. And again, there's no right answers. We picked these. We tasted a lot of different truffles to come up with this, and
We did, which was hard work, you guys.
Yeah.
It was, we put in.
Somebody's got to do it.
Put in hours of work trying through different chocolates and wines, but we did it for you, and we did it for this school.
Yes.
So please, definitely, if you haven't had a chance yet to hit the auction, to donate, please do so. It really is for an amazing cause.
Absolutely.
I mean, this really gives these kids a lot of really great opportunities, especially once they get to the college level, to have that sports background and the skill set behind them.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes, we are so happy to be here, and definitely, even though Jeff isn't suggesting it right at this very moment, you can still continue to contribute, and the auction definitely, I think it's 7 p.m. or something like that it is open until, so there's lots of good things.
Just don't
I think
outbid
I
me.
just got outbid actually, but I'm going to get back on it after this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. I think we're getting cut off from our time, but please enjoy your wine, enjoy your truffles. We're going to send you back over. And it was great being here with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you so much, Billy. I was watching, even as you all were imbibing and sampling your chocolate, you were still giving, and I want to thank you all for that too. But like I said, there's nothing like some professional guidance through wine and chocolate. I, in fact, am going to skip dinner tonight, and I'm going straight for the wine and chocolate when I get home. I'm very, very clear on that. You all have been wonderful today. If you haven't noticed and you looked at your screen there, you see there's a total up there. You see $19,515. We just love to push that past 20 on to 25, on to 250,000 eventually. But today, we want to thank you for what you've done for us so far. Like we said, giving any time along the way. Today, we'll tell you about how we check out on the Paybe system. The other thing to remember, and thank you again to Jessica and Billy for mentioning this, but the silent auction goes until 7 p.m. tonight. So if you haven't taken a look at the silent auction, there are some incredible things in there. In fact, you've got some wine in there, of course. I don't know if there's any chocolate in there, but there is definitely some other foodstuffs. There's getaways, there's certificates, there's all kinds of wonderful things. One thing in particular you may have noticed that our very own Koji Tanaka, he's a woodworker professionally. In fact, he told me today he used to do, that was his job before becoming the program director for Santa Barbara School of Squash. So some beautiful original wood sculpture in there. Just so much to check out. We encourage you to do that all the way up until 7 o'clock. Now today, as soon as we're done, and we just crossed 20,000, give yourselves a hand. Can I get a yell from over here? See, there are a few people around here, socially distanced, of course, but they're here. Thank you so much for pushing us past the $20,000 mark. So when you sign off tonight, you'll get an email. You'll have a chance to check out of your cart, and everything you've pledged will be in that cart. It's the same thing that'll look like that when you finish out your silent auction purchases, whatever those may be for you tonight. So we thank you again. Please make sure to go ahead and answer those emails, push those buttons when they come your way. We want to thank everybody who's been really, this only happens because a lot of people put in a lot of time and effort. So we have our major sponsors we want to thank. So first of all, Danielle and Frank Huerta, thank you so much for your sponsorship. Sue and John Burke, thank you so much for your sponsorship. And of course, Jessica Foster Confections, Foley Wines, thank you so much, and True Organics, our major sponsors for this evening. So everybody pulled together to do this. It was lovely. I want to also thank the team that put this together. So Gavin Roy Presents, Mr. Gavin Roy, DJ Gavin Roy. Thank you to Gavin and his team. And Ellie Iverson, Edgy Events. Thank you so much, Ellie, for everything you did to make this happen tonight. Again, we have the silent auction open until 7 o'clock. We have a lot of fun. And if you have wine and chocolate still sitting there in front of you, please go ahead and make use of that any way you want the rest of the night. We're approaching $21,000, by the way. I'm looking at that screen. I'm not going to take my eye off until we go dark here. So again, thank you all for what you've done. What we are going to do now is take you out with some very special music. Mr. Jason Libbs of the Red Piano is going to take us out. So thank you on behalf of Santa Barbara School of Squash. Thank you to all the folks that make the organization possible, all the donors, all the volunteers, everybody that pulled tonight together. We're grateful that you joined us tonight, and we hope to see you again in person in the not too distant future. Thank you so much. Please take it away, Jason.
Hey, thank you everyone for joining today's guided tasting and fundraiser supporting the Santa Barbara School of Squash. My name is Jason Libbs. I'm at the Red Piano right now. And it is my pleasure to close out the event with a couple of my favorite songs I think are appropriate for today and tonight to guide you into your Sunday evening. So here you go. Sometimes in our life, we are